on such a
Totally.
large scale.
Absolutely. I've been working this way for a number of years, but I think lots of people have discovered a
Yeah.
new world and a new way of working, which is
Mm.
quite exciting. We're just redirecting to the Facebook group. Here we go. It's coming up. Not long now, and it should be nearly live.
Ha, cool.
Uh-huh. So can you turn your phone down or whatever I can hear in the background, Alicia?
Yep, here it is. Ah, Trace.
Is she online? Is she?
Yeah, she is.
You're a good
Awesome.
egg. Hello, Isabella.
Nicole. Nice to see you, Nicole.
Hey, Nick. Just gonna welcome everyone. We're just getting all set up and getting ready, so feel free to jump on in
This
to the
is really
Superhuman Summit.
fun to feel everybody coming to play.
Isn't it lovely?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, why is the live not coming up on my end? Here we go. Now we are. Now we're cooking. Love it when we cook with gas. Welcome, everyone. Please give us a wave or a hello, give us a like, and tell us where you're calling in from, where you're zooming in from, listening. It's lovely to see you too, beautiful Isabella. We love having your presence in the house. And you'll see I've got my superhuman cape on ready for some more cape to action. It's been a week, I think, since I wore my cape, so it's lovely to have it back on. And we're getting ready. We'll be going live and recording and starting our interview in about 5 minutes' time, but we'll just get everyone time to jump on right now to come online with us. And jump in and make a comment. Tell us where you're calling in from. Two of my favorites, aren't you beautiful, Nicole? We love you too. I haven't seen Mr. Nosh come up yet. If you're online, Noshi, make sure you tell us. We know you're a beautiful devotee of our summit and always really interactive. So this delicious human I have in front of me is none other than Elisha Xantaya, and I'm going to introduce her more formally in a minute, but we're just letting everyone hop online. So again, tell us where you're coming in from. If you know either of us, let us know, or who introduced you to this summit. And this is the healing series, so let us know how you found us. That's always useful as well. And we will be interactive here in Facebook throughout, so you'll be able to type in questions and have them answered by Elisha along the way. So part of it, I guess, will be experiential. You'll be able to sit back and enjoy, but part of it, we want you to really engage and interact with us as well. So be prepared and get ready to ask questions and get involved. I won't hit record yet, Elisha, so feel
Yeah,
free to
that's
chat
okay.
if you want to as well with the group.
Yeah, what I'm hoping is that the backing buzzer of this truck at some point, he finds wherever he's reversing to and completes that process. That would be nice.
I've got some workmen down the road from where I am as well, but I think I'm soundproofed enough. I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I am in a really beautiful, feels like a mansion right on the waterfront opposite the Cowrie Hole, I think it is,
Oh, yeah.
in
Nice.
Newcastle. Yeah, I've come down from the forest, from my home up there, and yeah, it feels nice to be in the energy of the ocean to be able to do this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm. I was in the forest on the weekend. I was up at Gresford, and then, of course, I went across to Wollombi because I know that's where you call home, and I'm hoping to
Yeah.
in future. But I keep heading that way because I love it out there.
Yeah, we'll be
So
neighbours.
beautiful. Yeah, I hope so. Although the property I was looking at, it doesn't look like I'm going to secure that one, unfortunately. The owner's actually taken it off the market at the moment. So I'll keep looking because I know the area I want to be in. It's just beautiful God's country, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's something pretty special about Wollombi.
It's very sacred. Yeah. So everyone should be jumping on. Hello, I can see people are joining. Make sure you tell us your name and where you're coming in from, zooming in from. And I'm going to hit record and get ready for the podcast recording that will go on in the background as well. Okay, and we are live and recording. So welcome, delicious superhumans. You know, I love saying that. It is a delight to have you join us once again for the next edition of our Super Healing Summit series. And this series at the moment is called the Healing Series, and it's all about what are the ways that we can heal us as dear little humans. And that might be at an emotional level, at a physical level, at a spiritual level, as a communal level, as a global level. There's lots of different ways we can heal, and there are lots of avenues and mechanisms to do that. And depending on what our kind of preferences are or where we're at in our journey, different things are going to resonate with us. And so today we really wanted to bring you this delicious human that's in front of me, and that's Elisha Xantaya. Hello, Elisha.
Hello, Alexandria. Lovely to be here.
Beautiful. It's so great to have you here. And I know we've known each other kind of from a distance more for a few years, and I've been to some of your events before with another person who's listening in, beautiful Tracy. She was the one that introduced me to you originally, and I'm forever grateful for that. And I can remember my first healing sound bath with you at Hamilton. I think it was at a health collective there, and it was such an experience. And I'm very auditory, so that resonated really deeply. And you know, they say you can feel it in your waters or in your bones. I went away feeling that. So we couldn't wait to get you on this healing series and to share some of what you have to share with the world, and for people to experience something different and to go, is this something that could support me in what I'm looking for, or am I just curious, right? Curious about what else there is out there in the world. And I think, you know, as sensory beings, we all know that there are ways we can touch things and feel things as well as hear them, but we don't always understand what's going on behind all of that, you know, and understand the science. So Elisha, for everyone who's watching, if you don't know her, like some people I know are watching do, she's a mindfulness and vocal expression coach, and you'll even experience more of that in a little while. And she runs a lot of community retreats, workshops and things in the forest, as well as in other beautiful places around Australia. She's definitely a kindred spirit of mine. I think a biophiliac and someone that loves nature and is moved by bird song and sound and, you know, being immersed in nature as well. And she's going to share some of her journey with us. And so I thought it might be great to start, Elisha, if you don't mind me delving into your past, a little bit about what's your background, because you didn't always do sound, kind of.
No.
And how did you get to this place where you're actually doing this, you know, as your calling now?
So this has really only been maybe a 7-year process of understanding how sound is so powerful for me in my life. I had 7 years when I left school in New Zealand as an engineer officer in the army, in the New Zealand Army. By the end of that 7 years, I had the worst anxiety that I've ever had. And just the actual physical effect of every day, my, you know, stomach absolutely churning. I didn't know it was anxiety then. So the next path after that was through design and arts with a graphic design diploma. I left New Zealand to come to Australia and found myself in the mines in Queensland in a blast crew for about 5 years. And some things that happened during that time were my deep immersion into self introspection and self realization, and trying to understand why my whole life had been, you know, working to please others and really, you know, dampening this vibrant child that I was earlier on in life. So that kind of led me down the pathway of trying to understand how to bring peace into my mind and feel connected to why I'm here. And that sort of took me into Bowen therapy, into mindfulness, into somehow I found myself in a band with two beautiful Kiwi brothers in the Gold Coast, and I never in my dreams thought I'd be singing in front of people, and it was the most terrifying experience of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, opening my voice in front of a room full of people. And I guess all of those things that kind of made the puzzle pieces fit to this point now are the reasons why I know how powerful sound is. And when we use sound as a self-soothing tool and an aligning of our energy, it's also been my pathway of connection into just shutting up the noise that happens in the mind of stress and worry and what do other people think, and how do I be a successful human, what does that even mean, like all of that noise that happens. For me, sound is the thing that brings me back to my center, to what my own sound is, before anybody else gets to influence that. It's also
I love
been,
that.
yeah,
I love that idea of, kind of creating your own resonance and alignment before anyone else gets, to
yeah,
do
it's
that.
like finding your home note, finding like this soul expression that is so unique, like our fingerprints to every person. And until you shake off all the bullshit that's on top of how I think I should be and how I can please those around me, that's the gold underneath. And that's where the terrifying part of being seen in front of other people, making sound and being stupid and doing, all these ugly faces where sound comes out. Yeah, I love playing with sound, and I love being silly in front of other people because it's so liberating. So
Silly
mindfulness was
people
my
unite. I
what's
love
that?
it. Silly people unite.
Yeah, that's right. Let's bring all the weird people together, then we really know who we are.
Yeah. And on the Facebook group, and sorry if I look down now and then, I'm just monitoring everyone's chats and comments.
Yeah, me too.
We've got Isabella saying self-soothing tool that aligns our energy. Love it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, so good.
I
And
want to
Michelle
take us
said,
through something soon on that as
yeah,
well.
finding your home note. So today is going to be a little bit experiential. We want to talk a bit first and understand a bit of what's going on with sound. And we'd love to know if anyone's tuned in that knows Elisha from any of those parts. She just talked about some of her history in the military and in the mines and now in sound. If anyone's jumped online and is watching that knows her, please give her a hoy and say hello. We'd love to connect with you as well. But I guess the benefits of sound have been known, and there's been a lot of scientific work done around it, but not everyone, I think, 100% believes it or maybe have experienced it. And I know myself, you and I were talking about my parents who were quite elderly, and my mum had a stroke. And one of the things that really soothes them, because they both have quite a bit of anxiety, as well as some pain, one of the things I found is me playing them the singing bowls.
Yeah.
So I have a set of singing bowls that I just leave in their bedroom now. And so often I'll put them to bed and then they lay together and they hold hands while I play the bowls to them. It's so gorgeous. And they'll tell me that for a day or two after I've done that for them, they experience less pain, they sleep better, and they're less anxious. And I often will play at the foot of the bed and then I'll walk around them and play it over their bodies.
Yeah.
And they just love it. And they were both quite musical. My mum was a singer and my dad was a pianist. So they understand a bit of sound and frequency, I guess. But we don't really know what it's doing to the body, but it's certainly helping them. Yeah. And whether that's a placebo or whatever. So we'd love to, I guess, explore a bit more of what's some of the science behind sound, and what have you experienced and seen for people that you've worked with?
Yeah. I work with clients one-on-one as well, and both with pain, like with physical pain and emotional trauma or anxiety. Almost every person leaves the session feeling like they have had a cleanse of a cleanse of their energy. And one client that I actually work with had 15 years of back pain and struggled to get out of bed in the morning, and the next day, so he slept the best he'd ever slept that night, and the next day he had zero back pain for the first time in 15 years. And I thought that was quite profound. So what I know in my own experience and in all of the pieces that I've put together on why sound is so powerful is that we are sound and vibration at our smallest atomic level. We are 99.9% space, according to some of the very intelligent people of our times. I'm not a scientist, but I've gained enough of that knowledge to then tune into what I have already intuitively been experiencing. And that is that sound releases frequency from our body that is not in harmony with our original blueprint. So our DNA, our cellular structure, has this intelligence that knows the totality of how our body is going to look and behave from the first cell, from the first process of our creation. So it knows how to...
Can you repeat that again? So sound releases, is it kind of unwanted things that have been stored? Is that what you're suggesting?
That's what I believe, is that the waters of our body, which retain vibrational imprints, take on the frequency of the thought or emotion or belief or trauma, and it stores it in our body. And to me, it seems like a loop that keeps playing until we can complete a trauma process. So you look at animals in the wild, when ducks fight, they don't hold on to it and get pissed off with the duck the next day because he did this thing to him. They'll go and they'll shake their wings and their tail feathers, and they just release all the excess energy. They vibrate their cells.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing when we use sound as well. So all of the patterning that happens, especially when we're in the first 7 years of our life, when our brain is in the theta state, we accumulate beliefs that might not be in alignment with our souls knowing that we are perfect and whole and complete. And I feel like sound has this ability to tap us into that knowing without having to go into story around why that thing happened. And every time we focus our attention back on the thing that doesn't feel good or that we don't want, we reinforce it. So sound transcends our story. And when we use sound to release energy from our body, there's a process that I'm going to take us through, which I like to call emotional composting. So it's emptying our body into the earth through sound, feeling which parts of the body are holding tension, and imagining that it's making a sound, and just letting yourself make that sound until it clears, and it may change sound as well.
And I love what you said about sound transcends our story, because often as dear little humans, we get so loaded up in our head, and we want to go to counseling and psychoanalyze everything. And that's what I've seen with my own parents, who are starting to experience a decline in cognitive function. Is we don't have to talk about it, we don't have to rationalize and understand where things are coming from. You just do the sound and the vibration, and it just naturally does it. You don't have to go, oh, there it goes, when I got hurt when I was 6 years old.
It's nice to be able to acknowledge the thing that you're feeling that's going, because often when you look at it as it's going and you don't hold on to it and hold it in your energy field, it's allowed to go, and you don't trap it. And I just want to talk on something that you just said about your parents and the decline in cognitive function, and what I've been seeing in wanting to know more about how sound actually can affect ourselves so powerfully is there's a scientist called Dr. Lee Bartel, and he works with Alzheimer's patients. So he has been doing many measured experiments on using a 40 hertz focused ultrasound therapy. And what he's seen with his patients is a total reversal of the effects of Alzheimer's. There's an incredible TED talk that he does on his research and his results, which I can share somewhere, maybe in the Superhuman group.
That might be great in the Facebook group, or if someone's watching, like Michelle or someone who wants to have a look in the TED talk and share the link. So Dr.
I can
Lee
post
Bartell.
it in there too. I've got it here.
Yeah,
handy.
that would be awesome afterwards.
I'll do it at the end. Oh yeah, awesome.
Michelle's on it.
So the other YouTube video that I've seen recently is the scientists that are healing cancer cells with a focused ultrasound between 100,000 and 300,000 hertz. So they're actually directing sound to the specific point in the body where the tumor is, or
sound blasting.
Say again?
Like sound blasting.
It is. And isn't that fascinating that we can direct something to the specific point in the body using a harmonic frequency that cancels out the effect of that cancer cell, or whatever stagnancy is being held on that point in the body that's creating dis-ease. They're also working with Parkinson's. There's a woman that talks about her being unable to walk, and after a series of focused ultrasound treatments is standing on stage presenting. So I'm so excited that somehow all these breadcrumbs have come together and I get to work with sound, and I love singing. I love the effect that happens in my body and the peace that I feel when I've sung, even for 2 or 3 minutes. It's like I come into this mindless or wordless state, as Martha Beck puts it.
And it's interesting. I know in studying Ayurvedic medicine and yoga therapy, we talk a lot about the elements of the earth, water, fire, air, and that they're in our body as well. And there's a lot around that we have so much air in our body. And one of the only ways to release that is through sound. And I think a lot of ancient indigenous cultures have known this for a long time. So whether that's a yogic, Tibetan or Indian tradition, whether it's our indigenous Aboriginals here, whether it's American Indians or wherever they are, often they had sacred seed sounds. They might have a mantra that they chant, or they might have a drum that they play, or a sound that they would make, as a ritual or as a way of bringing themselves back into harmony. So it's like ancient cultures have known that for such a long time, and finally our Western medicine starting to, narrow the gap between just science and what is innately part of, humanity and the universe. Have you looked into Indigenous cultures in some of what you've studied?
I have. There's an incredible book by Robbie Holtz called the 5 Secrets, or the Secrets of Aboriginal Healing. And that's a true account of somebody from the States who came and spent a number of weeks with an Aboriginal mob, and with a healer who had done Western training, who was staying with the mob, and wheelchaired in there and walked out within 6 or 8 weeks. I'm not exactly sure how much time. The book's incredible, and it really highlights how much is available to us when we shut up and listen. And their word for deep listening is dadiri, and I'm in the process of actually spending some more time in understanding, sitting with the grandmothers, and I'm really excited to learn more firsthand about their cultural connection with sound and with the dialogue of nature that happens through every element, the singing that is at the core of everything on the planet. So the sound of every particular flower is unique because it vibrates in a different way. It has a different cellular structure. So they have this really innate connection that we all have, which is they feel the energy of what's around them, and it's a sound wave that we receive in our eyes and our ears, and we all have the ability to do this. And when they talk about deep listening, it's not a cultural thing for them. It's if you're in a human body, you have the potential to quiet your mind and start to feel the difference in energy between the ocean and the forest. Feel the difference in energy between a tree and a flower. And what I've noticed for myself is when I let myself be still and I empty the tension and the future and the past from my mind, from my body, the sound and song and melody comes through me that I couldn't have and deliberately created if I tried. It comes through effortlessly. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Is when I empty myself and I'm 100% present in that moment, I'm not reaching for anything, then there's space. And in that space is this field of potential where we hear so much more. Yeah, Eckhart Tolle has written books and books about it. Deepak Chopra talks about this field of unlimited potential. It's in every religion and culture on the planet. They all point to this thing that is the oneness that you can feel when you shut up and allow yourself to become present. And for me, sound is actually a fast track into that, like mantra in many cultures. Making sound in my body creates this humming and this resonance that releases whatever's in me and connects me to the vibration of the world around me. And in that space, there's so much potential to hear what's really wanting to come through this conduit in this lifetime. Yeah.
And when we shut up the busyness of the head, and I agree, it's in all the scriptures, you know, when the Bible says listen to God, they're not talking about listen to some man on a cloud with a beard talking to you. They're talking about the fact that, you know, God is in everything. So listening to that. The Upanishads talk about emptying your bowl, emptying yourself out so that you become a resonant vessel to receive all of that. And I just spent a weekend away in the country with 5 other yogis, and we practiced for a whole day at Diadri. We practiced deep listening. And
how do you pronounce it?
Diadri, I think they said. Yeah. And we sat out on the veranda and just listened to the birds and laid on the grass and just allowed the sound of nature to carry us. And we didn't need to speak. And it was like we all knew at one point when we all wanted something to eat. We all just kind of looked at each other and it was like, okay, time to go inside and prepare food now.
Had a really cool experience in the last Wild Song workshop that we had at home last weekend, where two strangers had come on that day, hadn't met each other. And we did a couple of exercises. One was listening through the eyes, where there's no speaking, there's just 5 minutes of basically listening through the eyes. And then there was an exchanging of sounds. So they would go away and find a note that resonated really familiar in their body. And then they'd come back together and they would focus only on their own sound, but they're very close together. So I'm focusing on my sound, you're focusing on your sound, and we're just holding our own note. And what was reflected to me after that by these 2 people was that she knew it was a younger woman and an older woman. And she said she felt like she knew this older woman deeper than she knew her own family, because she had this absolute presence and sharing of sound without story. And through the eyes and through that sound, she said it was just the most profound experience that she's had, and all of, you know, the pipes unblocked and the knots untied, and the before and after of her physical was amazing to see.
Yeah, you can often see that, can't you? You can actually see, even facial structure change and things like that from people. It's just a whole different persona. So
Yeah.
why don't we jump in and do some experimenting? Because I know you've got a few ideas for what we can do today, and I can't believe we're already 25 minutes in. So
yeah, this is good. I feel like we've covered heaps of what I wanted to.
Yeah, we have. And also for people who are listening in Facebook, and I can see some of you are commenting and things, which is awesome. If you do have questions, please feel free to post them there. And especially if you can put a capital Q in front of it, and then I know it's a question and I'll monitor that as we go. But I'm going to hand over to you, Elisha, to kind of do what you do best.
Great. So what I wanted to share is a really short exercise that you can use for yourself, or you can teach your kids. Really powerful for kids. They love the feeling of sound in their body. And I call it emotional composting. So it's a way of emptying the mind, emptying any tension from the body. And you just imagine that the body is hollow and there's a pipe that goes all the way through, and everything you're emptying just empties from your feet down into the ground. It's an opening of the pipes is how I like to feel it in my body. So if you just take a few moments to feel what's happening in your body right now. So you might want to take a couple of deep breaths. And just notice what's happening in your shoulders. Notice what's happening with your breathing. Notice what's happening in your solar plexus. And we're going to make 3 different sounds. So one is a very low sound, and just notice where this kind of tickles your body inside. So I'll make the sound and you can repeat with me a few times if you want to. You can either hum or you can use an oo sound. So usually those lower sounds happen around kind of the lower bits of our body, kind of belly, hips area. So now I have a play with a higher note and just see where it sits, usually around your chest. You can either hum still or you can use an ah syllable. You might even notice this emptying down through your feet as you hum outwards. Breathe in deep. And then notice the difference of where this next sound feels in your body. We're going to go up a little bit higher into the head frequencies, and maybe you can start with a hum and then use an E syllable and just play with the two. My microphone's doing funny things. So when, oh, that's cool. I can hear some clicking. So it's fun to feel how the different sounds move in your body. Every body has the ability to use sound to soothe and to explore your body. Everybody has a song. Doesn't necessarily need to sound like anyone else's. So the next part that we're going to do is actually using those 3 sounds to flush the body from the head down into the ground. And this is also used in warm-up vocals for singers, vocalists. They use these different exercises for warming up the vocal cords. So this is called a siren flushing, and you imagine that you're emptying from your head all the way down through your body, through your feet, and like plug holes in the feet, just emptying into the earth. So we'll do a few.
Did you say siren flushing?
Siren flushing.
Is it like a siren going off on an ambulance, or is it a siren like the women on the shore of the, like a lighthouse that stop you?
That's nice. Yeah, that second one.
Like a siren singing, yeah.
Or it's like it's also like a chuppa chup lollipop. Those ones that go.
Oh yes, great, yeah. Awesome.
It can be a chuppa chup if you want. I like lollipops. So taking a deep breath in, I like to imagine that I'm breathing in from the earth and taking up that really peaceful energy into my cells, all the way to the top of your head. So that's the simple version as a hum. You can open your mouth and do this louder. I'm that person that likes to be silly in front of everyone so that most other people feel okay being silly and doing ugly face and, not being perfect. So I do this in the public as well. This is not just something I do in my own home.
I can see how kids would love it, especially the
yeah. Especially when they get to explore what sounds are in their body. So the last one I usually bring a little bit of movement in, because there's a lot of different healing practices that use shaking to actually move our cells. As soon as you're moving your cells, you're opening the pipes, the energy lines of your body. So we'll do this one again loud and with some movement, and then we'll go into the next part. So taking in a deep breath again, up through your feet. It feels good and it feels silly and it feels freeing. So the last part is just taking a moment to, and you can do this if you get triggered at some point of your day, somebody that just annoys the shit out of you, or a trauma that's been brought to the surface through maybe a minor, something you've seen, or something in relating with another person. And often this noise happens in our mind actually when we're feeling unworthy or self-doubt or shame. So all of these things sit somewhere in your body. So have a feel into your body right now. Maybe one place that's feeling either that there might be tension there, or a little bit of stagnant energy. If you're not used to feeling into your body, sound is a really incredible way of practicing feeling into your body, because this is the radar, like the megaphone for our soul, for our heart. So feel into somewhere in your body. And then think about what sound that part of your body wants to make to come into freedom. So if I'm feeling into my solar plexus, I always get a tiny little bit nervous or sometimes terrified if I have to speak in front of people or sing in front of people. So if I bring that to mind, I want to make this sound into my solar plexus, or out of my solar plexus, I should say. And it doesn't even have to be that aggressive or loud. It can be as simple as it can be playful, like this is one of the things that we do during the Wild Song workshop is learning how to sing the sounds of your body, sing the sounds of the stories or the emotions without giving words to them. And it's amazing the liberation that happens in such a short amount of time. So that's what I call emotional composting. Really fun for kids, but it's really fun for the kid in all of us.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that, actually, playfulness. What were you going to say, Alexandria?
So there was a question from Michelle, which I think is a great question, and I'd love to interject with that. And it was, how do we know that the sound, what sounds have what effect? So you just did a whole few different sounds then, you know, in pitch and tone and resonance, but also and things like that. So how do we know what effect the sounds are having?
Right. The way that you know is by turning your radar inwards to your body. You might not necessarily know the effect that it's having on another person, but as you become more sensitized to what you're feeling in your own body, the difference in feeling between shame and playfulness, that's how you'll know the effect that it's having. When you think about something that you don't want anyone to know about yourself, something that you're really ashamed of in your life, if you think about the feeling of that, and then you think about the most playful, joyful moments that you have, you know, dancing and singing, or just pissing yourself with laughter, like the difference between those two is how you know what effect it's having.
It's that kind of, isn't it, whether it's contractive and tight or whether it's expansive and free.
Your breath is often quite a big indication as well. Your shoulders, your posture is often a big indication.
Yeah. And so even just those exercises then, and when you're saying being playful, you know, as I was doing that, I could even feel my spine kind of unwinding and stretching, you know, so you could even be a bit taller by the end of the day when you're doing this. So why don't you talk a bit about the playfulness with us?
So the playfulness is something that is really dear to my heart, because we all have this playfulness within us, and if we don't, then it's not because we don't have us in it, but maybe it's not something we're used to allowing for ourselves. You look at children, they know how to play, they know how to make sounds that are just whatever they feel like in the moment. So if you look at children and playfulness, and you look at all the reasons why we stop playing in our adult life, those are the parts that I work on opening through sound and silliness, because that ripples into everything we do in our lives and how we bring our soul gifts into this lifetime. So there's something that I read recently around how Indigenous shamans and medicine men and women work. And in many of those cultures, they don't focus on the symptoms that a patient has when they come to them. They ask when they stopped playing, because the frequency of not sharing your passions and your play with the world is like, for me, it feels like somebody's kind of put a net around me and holding my arms in. And we do that to ourselves more than anybody else. We do it to ourselves, but often it happens without us really understanding that we're making those decisions for ourselves. Because somebody's told us we can't sing, or
I just think as a coach, that's one of the best coaching questions I've ever heard. You know, when did you stop playing? How profound that is to actually realize that. When did you stop having a spring in your step? You know? Beautiful.
And when I look back to my army career, I think the anxiety that I felt, I know that was all self-created. That was trying to fit into certain boxes and behave how I thought I should behave, and I destroyed myself with insecurity, with doubt, and I forgot how to play. I forgot how to be my true self. So playing and sound for me are very dear to my heart. And I don't really care if I embarrass myself, by being playful, because that's not a story about me. That's a story about you or them. And my desire is for each person to feel that freedom and that playfulness, and bring that through their gifts into the world, or how they interact with each next person. Yeah, I feel like the connection that happens through sound is the medicine of our current global climate. Yeah, the most potent medicine that we can bring into our lives right now is meaningful connection. And I feel like sound is a really fast portal into that.
So that's a couple of times now you've kind of talked about the fast track and the fast portal. And is that because it's getting the mind and all the other stuff out of the way that we're just kind of going straight in? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's a knowing of your soul wisdom that calls itself a human that wants to intellectualize everything, which is where I've come from. And there's a much more universal and infinite knowing when the energy between people are shared in a way that doesn't have a gender or story, where it's absolutely in the moment and you are literally conduiting the energy of creation that wants to come through us, through each individual unique person with their individual and unique perspective. Yeah.
So if anyone else has got other questions, now's the time to ask, because I do think we're going to go into a bit of a sound bath, aren't we?
We are.
Elisha, you're going to share some sound healing. And I know the first time I've been to other sound healings, and I've been to actual centers, like in Bali, the pyramids of Chi, for example, where you're in these giant tents and pyramids that are set up for sound and for the resonance and sound healings. And I've been to lots of different things, and then I experienced yours. And there was so many of these earthly sounds and yet ancient sounds that you make vocally as well as with instruments that really resonated at a deeper soul level that wasn't part of my conscious. So I'd love for people to experience this, and wherever you're watching, I hope you're not driving and that you can actually pull over or, shut your eyes or whatever it might be. Or, if you're somewhere where you can lay down and put your phone or your computer beside you, I think now's the time to experience some of this, right?
And those sounds are not something that used to come naturally to me. Like these are things that I've allowed myself to explore and play with, and it's been an uncovering of just the miraculous instrument that we are when we get out of our own way, and everybody has the capacity to do this. And playfulness is like the gateway to that.
Amazing.
So I don't really analyze what comes out of me anymore. I just let it happen and have fun with it.
And maybe in the group, feel free to put in to the chat box if you're brave enough, because even naming it before this would be great. When did you stop playing, or have you? Cool. Right? So you might want to share that in the Facebook group. When did you stop playing? And for those who are listening to the podcast later, maybe contemplate that a bit and think about, when have I been playful of late? And so I invite you all to kind of get ready for Elisha, and I'm going to hand back over to you to do what you do best.
Thank you, AJ. Okay, let me just move a couple of things.
And I can hear you've changed your microphone, so that's perfect.
Yeah, I have. Thank you for checking in on that. Yeah, if you have the time and space to lie down and just let yourself melt with some deep breaths. And just have a play with where you feel these sounds in your body. body melt into the earth with your out breath. Opening, softening, and letting go. Letting go of your past, your day, your week, your whole human history. Letting go of any future ideas. And just resting in your center.
Oh, wow.
That was fun.
I'd love the people who are watching on Facebook, feel free to drop a word, just a single word about how you're feeling right now into the group. I know I couldn't stop moving, like my body was going with the way you were playing the bowl. I could feel myself. So we got sensational. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, else?
I was also going to play a little bit of drum, but I think maybe we probably don't have enough time for the full journey. We've got some sessions coming up in Newcastle soon.
So as people are putting a word in, someone's got Q, splendid, buzzing. That's what people are saying who are tuning in live, relaxed. That's
Awesome.
awesome. Perhaps you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about where you do practice and do some of this work and how people can find you and find
Yeah,
out
sure.
more
I'd
and
love to.
experience it. Yeah.
So I run workshops from my property where I live with my partner Adrian, and that is an incredibly beautiful, serene and peaceful forest with a beautiful home and heaps of space to make noise and be silly. Yeah, not be seen, but be seen at the same time. So those workshops, men's wild song, the first men's is coming up in August, and the women's wild song is also coming up in August. I do one-to-one sessions with energy and sound alignment online and in person. I do them from home and also in Newcastle. And there's a sound journey which I call sonic dream weaving, and that's happening as well on the 4th of August in Newcastle. So I can put some of those links. They're all on my page, Sonic Woven Light. My website is
Sonic woven
xantaya.com.
light.
That's right. My website is in the process of being updated, so that's also got some information.
Can you spell Xantaya for people because it's with an X, not a Z? So maybe
Yeah,
if you could spell it out for people.
Xantaya. So you'll find me on Facebook and Instagram through that as well.
And
And there's
as
also a
Michelle's
wild
just
song.
posted, Sonic woven light. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Lapika, Sam, Nicole, nice to have you guys. There's a wild song retreat coming up that we're running at the start of November. So that's going to be the full soul visioning and mindfulness process through sound. Yeah, releasing patterning that prevents us from being our most awesome selves. So it's deep, it's playful, yeah, and quite life changing from what I've been reflected and what I've experienced myself.
Lapika's just said, what about the bird or crow in the background at the end? No, that was Elisha. That was her. What I was watching her mouth.
Yeah, it's just so fun playing with sound and all the different ways that you can hear in nature. Like nature's our teacher. It's my teacher, and it's just right there, ready for everybody to tune in and recognize our empathic nature. Yeah.
So check
We
out
also have,
xantaya.com. Yeah. 4th of August, that one.
yeah,
Where is that on at?
that's where I am right now, actually, at Alex
Great.
Coffey's house at her clinic
Oh, great.
space.
Yeah.
Which
So they'll
you can
find that on your Facebook page or
at my Facebook page, Sonic Woven Light, and it's at her clinic, which is Grow Where You're Planted.
beautiful.
So yeah, probably just one more thing we're having, because I love to share sound and hear other people's sound and see other people, all of the uniqueness of our human experience. We've created a stage at home. We built a stage, and we love getting people up on stage to share their songs and sounds. So we've got a community music an arts weekend coming up at the start of September. And I'll share that into the Sonic Woven Light page as well.
Beautiful. So basically, if in doubt, follow Sonic Woven Light on Facebook, and you'll be kept up to date with things, not just now, but in the future. I want to thank you again for sharing your gifts and your story and the vulnerability that you shared around your journey into sound. As a very auditory person, that was so juicy and delicious. I'm, buzzing, and I'm glad I stood for it, actually. I can highly recommend your workshops. And so for people who are listening and wanting to explore more, remember the body is hollow, and, there's so much benefit and juiciness out of letting it resonate and come back into alignment and opening the pipes, as you say. And I know my mum was a singer, and she used to always talk about opening her pipes and, how great it feels. If you're driving somewhere, maybe have a sing-along, with the radio as you're moving along. After this, will make some sound. And I think the one takeaway that sits with me is, when did you stop playing? And so, I invite all of you to play a little. We do things like dressing up or whatever because it makes us a bit silly. You are delicious humans. You're meant to be here to have fun. That's what Earth School's all about. So go forth and make that happen. Thank you so much, Elisha, for sharing.
Thank
all
you,
of
AJ.
you.
I really appreciate the opportunity and just the fun that you create and you hold space for. Yeah, it's really special. Thank you. And Michelle.
So thank you everyone for tuning in. Once again, we'll have more amazing healers and people coming to you. We've only got a few more in the Superhuman Healing series, and then we've got another surprise of another kind of series coming up. So Michelle and I'll be back with more of that soon, and it's going to be all around the mind and the brain and delving into that. So watch this space. Stay tuned. Make sure you invite other people to the Superhuman Summit group here, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Everyone's saying love you, terrific job. So
much love to you all. So beautiful.
Be well. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Bye
guys.
for now.